This is the Go Diaper Free podcast with Andrea Olson, Session 6. Going diaper free has never been easier.
Welcome to the Go Diaper Free podcast, where we're all about teaching you how to stop changing diapers, starting at birth. And now your host, she's having a baby girl this time around, Andrea Olson.
Yes, I am. And actually, I've been telling everybody that her name was going to be Athena, because that's what my husband wanted to name her. But we have come up with a new name. It's now Isadora, after Isadora Duncan, the famous dancer from the early last century. So welcome. In this episode of the Go Diaper Free podcast, we're going to continue talking about what EC is. We've covered back in episode 2, if you remember, what EC is in a very small nutshell, and a list of things that EC is not. So that got us into the right frame of mind, and now we're going to venture forth into a few more details. So in this session, I will cover some basics that will help you orient yourself towards the big picture of what EC is, including the following: the 4 events that lead to potty time, alternatives to diapering and doing diaper-free time, types of EC and what to expect, and what sort of support is helpful when doing EC. In future episodes, again, we will break down all of this into bite-sized chunks that will help you whether you're just starting out or if you've been doing EC for a while now and would like to fill in some blanks. So here goes. First off, the 4 keys to elimination are basically the 4 events that lead to your baby's potty time. I call these the 4 roads to potty time. They include your baby's signals, your baby's natural timing, in other words, the rhythms that she normally goes after feeding or waking. The third thing is common potty timing, which I call generic timing. Basically, like if you're bringing your baby to the store and you take her out of the car seat, so after taking her out of the car seat, upon arrival at the store, before shopping, taking her out of the sling, things like that. The 4th key to knowing that your baby needs to pee is your intuition. And this is something that people may or may not have right off bat, but you can develop this over time. So learn how to dip into all 4, and within a month or 2, EC will become second nature for you. If you focus on only 1 or 2 of these, such as relying only on the baby's signals, in later months, things might backfire. I have found in my experience with thousands of readers worldwide that a lot of babies stop signaling or never have. Some babies signal louder in a diaper backup and not at all when not in a diaper. So if you only used one of the 4, just the signals, then later on EC is going to be kind of hard. So it's best to familiarize yourself with all 4 and set a solid foundation. Another thing you might want to know about EC is it really diaper free? Is it really naked? Are there alternatives to diapering? What's up with all of that? We're going to cover alternatives to diapering and doing diaper free time now. You can do EC with or without a diaper as a backup. It is totally up to you. Most people do use a diaper backup, just given the nature of our lives, and given that it's a new practice usually for everybody. And they do this up until about 9 to 14 months, usually marked by when the baby has started walking or talking or communicating a little more clearly, and when diapering becomes a struggle. So 9 to 14 months is typical to get rid of the daytime diaper backup and move to something else. And there's a whole slew of options ranging from commando, which is only wearing pants, to tiny underwear, to fully diapered while still communicating. That also counts as EC. So there are alternatives to diapering, but don't think you need to go gung-ho and just completely stop using diapers, because usually that doesn't work out so well. So that's what people usually do. And the point is, if you choose to do EC and you do it with proper guidance and support, you will absolutely reduce the number of diapers you use, and thus you'll positively impact your baby's well-being and the saving of our sacred environment, which I think is important to a lot of you, or you wouldn't be interested in the practice. But do I need to mention that this also means less poop scraping for you? I think that part's pretty cool. So it's important to note that with EC, having a diaper-free baby actually means having a baby who is free from dependence on diapers. It doesn't mean having a naked feral baby peeing all over your floor, although if you really want to do this, who am I to stop you? But anyway, a baby who is potty trained while naked is not a potty trained baby. We wear clothing in the Western world, and I have said this so many times before because my site is called Go Diaper Free. It's got to be very clear that you can do EC with a diaper backup and still be diaper free. You're free from depending upon those diapers as the only solution to pottying your baby or to dealing with poop and pee. Hopefully that's clear. So carrying on, naked or modified diaper-free time is indeed essential during the observation periods when you're starting EC. And from there on out, diaper-free time can be really good for your baby. Many people do it about 30 minutes a day before the bath. Some people do it only on outings because their baby's more reliable when they're out and about. This can involve, diaper-free time can involve just time in underwear, time naked, etc. There's ways to do it responsibly. But as with everything in EC, you'll want to strike a balance and just be aware of overdoing naked diaper-free time. If you notice that your baby's learning to pee everywhere, it's probably because you're teaching them that. So be sure you know what you're teaching or conditioning your child to do. Teaching a baby to pee on the floor is just as bad as teaching her to pee in a diaper, in my opinion. Not that either of them are really bad, so to speak, but you get the same result. And anyway, I like to help people avoid both of these situations. I think it's a way to do EC really balanced. So we'll cover this more in depth in later episodes. We'll really dive into how to do diaper-free time responsibly. Or in the meanwhile, if you can't wait for that to happen, you can go to godiaperfree.com and get more info at our community. So next we're going to talk about the types of EC. Since we're working with what is EC, let's talk about types of EC and what you can expect. So you can do EC full-time, part-time, or occasionally. Pretty simple. Those are the types of EC. Full-time ECers are the ones who, it's not that they're going for every single poop or pee, but they are dedicated to doing EC with their child throughout the day, and it could include night or not. Nighttime is always optional. But full-time ECers are basically always practicing EC with their child, whether it's responding by pottying or responding by just saying, or we're going to skip that one and do the next one. If you're in the second group, part-time, you're in the majority. Whether you're working outside the home or not, part-time EC, which we have covered in depth in a past episode already. We're going to cover it more in the future too, but part-time is basically when you choose, okay, I'm only going to do EC this certain time of the day, or I'm only going to do EC this certain time of the week, or I'm only going to do EC for poops, or I'm only going to do EC for every hour or two or something. So there's a way that you just take breaks and you take it kind of slowly. And it's actually very effective, and a lot of people do it. So there's no shame in being a part-time ECer. It's actually pretty cool. And then the last type of EC is occasionally. And these are people who just have a lot going on in their lives and just occasionally will drop in and do EC and occasionally just won't. Or they'll do it when it's easy and then they'll stop doing it when it's hard and then they'll pick it up later. But they're still doing EC. No matter how you do it, the key is to be consistent, committed, and have the right attitude. There are ways to do EC with your baby that don't confuse her and that help you maintain your usual family lifestyle, such as with part-time or occasional EC. Anyone can do EC, and honestly, most people do it part-time. I did it full-time because I could and I wanted to, and I'm kind of an overachiever. And there were a few times when I took breaks. It's all got to be done with balance. So now let's talk about expectations. Although EC is about communication, not completion, you can generally expect a certain level of day or night dryness and potty reliability, in other words, done with diapers, by 6 to 20 months, depending on when you start, how often you practice EC, whether you follow a mentor or a program, or if you get advice piecemeal off the internet, or whether you follow a particular philosophy, such as the one at Go Diaper Free. Winging it usually ends up with a longer time to completion and many more bumps along the way. Again, I get all of these people after winging it for several months and things just start falling apart that they really need more teaching. If we were all living in a tribal society, you would get that built in. You wouldn't have to learn a thing. Unfortunately, we're not blessed with that with this practice. So let's talk next about support, because that goes along that same vein. The world of EC is chock full of supportive community. I mean, we are in the internet age. There's support for everything you could think of out there. But there's so much support out there that you could ask a question and get a dozen answers by the end of the day, or sometimes even 40 or 50 answers by the end of the day. The key is to filter those dozen random replies into usable information. Now, most suggestions on these email lists, Facebook groups, parenting forums, and mommy blogs, of which I am a member of almost all of them, are from firsthand experience from a single parent, which is great, but it can also lead you to confusion and overwhelm. If you try, just think about it this way, try implementing a dozen different ideas, and I'm not sure that you or your baby will be clear or content or happy by the end of the day. Would you? It just gets a little bit overwhelming, and people mean really, really well, and you can get some great ideas from there, but you just have to be able to filter that. So if you're equipped with a good filter and you can discern which ones feel like something you want to try, and just don't go all out and try every single thing that everybody suggests, because then everybody will be confused in your family. Anyway, that's actually the primary reason why I created the Go Diaper Free community, which includes our private support forum. It is the only one of its kind in the infant potty training realm, especially given that it's private, but it's also community and expert run. So it's not just moderated to make sure people aren't picking on each other, but it's actually everybody's read the same material. Everybody is helping each other based on the same basic concepts. And I'm also in there giving advice based on helping thousands of people. So there's a really good resource out there that I just want I want to let you know that it exists. It may help you avoid distraction, overwhelm, and wandering off the path that you're committed to with your baby. It is a lot safer to give and get advice within a group of people who aren't open to criticisms of others by being public. Even in a private Facebook group, there sometimes tends to be criticism. But basically, everybody being guided by the same basic teachings and principles just makes things easier and more clear, and there's less options and less confusion for you and your baby. That's what we're up to over at Go Diaper Free, so check us out if this kind of personal international support is something you think might benefit you. And if not, maybe you have a friend who might be more in need than you are and might benefit from that. So that's it about what is EC Part 2. I wanted to just go over that all really quickly for you. In later episodes, we will get into details. For now, I hope you've gotten a more clear picture of what EC is, what it can look like, some of the key aspects of it, and how to get support while you're doing it. It truly is and should be customizable to your lifestyle, and it's been proven time and again that with a good starting point between you and your child, if you both start off on the same page with each other, things can be very enjoyable and smooth. So to get the show notes for this episode and a transcript, please visit godiaperfree.com/session6. If there's something that you would like to hear on this podcast, drop me a note anytime at andrea@godiaperfree.com, and I'll be happy to integrate your idea into the show. If you have a question, you can write it in there, and I'll try to answer it in one of my Q&A episodes that are coming up too. Next week, tune in for an episode on EC vocabulary. Now, this is no normal set of verbs and nouns. We've got a special surprise in there from some of our community that I think you'll get a real kick out of. So anyway, having a way to talk about what we're doing is essential, and I wanted to cover that next before we dive into how to know when your baby needs to pee. So hopefully you'll join us for that next session. Thank you so much for tuning in, and happy pottying.
Thanks for listening to the Go Diaper Free podcast at godiaperfree.com.